What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
Ross, so I said that I would castrate myself live on air if Derek Carr doesn't finish as a top 12 quarterback in the NFL.
Okay, all right.
It's obviously the riskiest bet that I've ever made. That said, I do, like, when I look at this Saints team, it all comes down to the offensive line. There's a world where maybe this line is good and everything looks good because you can be good for years, right? I mean, there's a ton of investment. It's all first and second round picks, save for Saldivari. However, it was a PFF the other day comes out with their list ranking all O-lines, and the New Orleans Saints are dead last, 32 of 32. So it goes beyond Derek Carr. Is it too simple to say that this New Orleans Saints team goes as the O-line goes? Because that's how I feel.
No, not at all. I don't think that's too simple at all. I think that's absolutely the case. It's interesting walking into a season and looking at a football team and going, man, the two biggest question marks feel like the offensive line and the defensive line. That's not typically where NFL teams want to be. But to the Saints, to the credit of that conversation, the reason why the offensive line is a question mark is because they're relying on young players to push their improvement.
Yeah.
And that's just tough to project. That's all that really is. It's just challenging to project. Like you said, there's a world in which this offensive line is fantastic, but we have to see players we haven't seen perform in the NFL, either because they're rookies or second year guys, or Trevor Penning's moving from one side of the line to the other. So I do think that it's not too simple. In fact, it's simple enough to say that, yes, this offense goes by the way of its offensive line, not only because of the protection for Derek Carr, but this wide zone offense also wants to be able to predicate what it does by running the football. So they have to be able to produce in that area too. So I think you're right there. I don't think that it's too simple to say that. I think it's just simple enough.
What about the tight end position? A position where you have an injury to Juwan Johnson. Obviously, Foster Moreau is going to be there as well. Taysom Hill kind of looks like he's maybe going to be in the backfield as much as he is at tight end. Like, where are you at right now? You brought in a very talented undrafted free agent rookie. He led the tight ends across the country in college football last year in yards. Like, where are you at right now with that position group?
Yeah, I should say too, real quick for T-Bob, just to kind of like bring your anxiety down. I think you're going to be fine. Yeah. I think you're going to be fine when it comes to Derek Carr, top 12.
Thank you.
I think you're going to be okay.
Talking about.
You should put a caveat. You should caveat injury just to protect yourself.
I did an injury caveat.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So
good.
we're if he misses, I think it's like more than 4 or 5 games, and it doesn't count. But
good.
Yeah, here's to hoping, man. I'd really rather not cut my nuts off for like a 7-10 Saints team, but hey, you got to take big swings.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the tight ends, not to shift to the other body part here, but as we look at tight ends, I think that the thing that I look at with this is that it's a bit of a frustrating group right now, and I think that the frustration comes from the high expectations and then kind of the derailment of bridging the gap from 2023 to 2024. And I think Juwan Johnson is probably very frustrated having to deal with this injury himself. He had 3 of his 4 touchdowns last year, more than 200 of his more than 300 receiving yards last year, all came in the last 4 games of the season last year. And so you're hoping that he's going to be able to bridge the gap of that momentum that he started to pick up at the end of 2023 and then go into 2024. Now you have this injury. So you're hoping is that the injury isn't enough of a hiccup that it causes, kind of a drop off in that momentum. So that's going to be pretty big for him. Again, the expectation for him as well is that he'll be ready to go at the beginning of the season. We'll see where things go there. I don't have any big updates when it comes to Juwan Johnson at this moment. But the rest of that tight end group obviously has a lot of talent. Foster Moreau looks bigger, bulkier. He looks like he's ready to go for this season. Dallin Holker's really interesting and can move around all over the place. And I think Taysom Hill contributes to that position group. They've got a phenomenal tight end coach in Clancy Barone there as well, who's coached multiple Hall of Famers throughout his time. So I think that you have everything that you want in that room. The biggest thing is, can it stay healthy? And especially in this wide zone offense, you're going to see a lot of those 2 wide receiver sets, which means a lot of those 2 tight end sets as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for those tight ends on the field. Got to be able to block, got to be able to move, got to be able to run routes, got to be able to catch the football in those cases. And a lot of those guys check those boxes, including undrafted free agent Dallin Holker, who I'm super excited to see a little bit more of in training camp.
Ross Jackson at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter, host of the Locked On Saints podcast, does a ton of great work across all Locked On networks. A huge thank you. As you can see, Ross knows everything top to bottom when it comes to New Orleans Saints. You should listen to the pod. Ross, thank you. Thank you so much for making some time for us for coming on the show today.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Y'all take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.